Few things are as frustrating as a car crash, especially when the damages take away your main mode of transportation for a period of longer time. It can be confusing. Whose party is at fault? Whose party pays for what? In today's Injuries Are Personal with Carl Reynolds Law, attorney Carl Reynolds is here to help us get back on the road as quickly and economically as possible after an accident. Great to see you again.
Great to see you, Stephanie. Thank you.
Once the dust has settled and we know that everybody's okay, the next concern is we just want to get the vehicle fixed. So the big question is, how is it determined whose insurance or who pays for what?
Very good. First and foremost, make sure you're physically okay. The car can be repaired, it can be fixed, it can be totaled, but you can't. You're irreplaceable. So first, make sure you're physically okay and everyone else in the vehicle. But once that dust settles, it's the at-fault party that pays for the repairs to the vehicle.
And that's determined by law enforcement. Who's at
well,
fault?
The law enforcement really determines whether or not there was a moving violation or a citation can be issued. That doesn't necessarily mean that someone's at fault. I mean, I could be I could not have a proper driver's license, or I could not be wearing a seatbelt, but if I'm stopped at a red light and get rear-ended, it doesn't mean I'm at fault for the accident.
Okay.
So citation doesn't necessarily always mean fault, but really it's dependent on who was negligent, who was careless. And in a rear-end accident, it's usually the rear-ending party, and that party would then be responsible for repairs for the vehicle. If you're at fault, if you caused the accident, then you're responsible. And if you carry collision coverage, then you can use your own insurance to compensate you and pay for the vehicle.
Let's talk about this collision thing, because
Okay.
this is where it gets a little hazy to me. So if I am not at fault, let's assume I got hit, I am not at fault.
Perfect.
They have insurance, which we're happy about, so
Right.
they cover it. Okay, like I have a deductible though. How do I get my deductible back? Do I get into my collision? How does all that work?
Great questions, and this is a main source of frustration for my clients. I would say it's certainly, if not in the top, it's in the top three. Everyone has to carry property damage in the state of Florida, so you have to carry at least $10,000 that compensates any damage you cause due to your negligence or carelessness. Okay. So if you're hit by somebody and they're at fault, you can go through their insurance company and they have to have a policy of at least $10,000 to pay for the repairs to your vehicle.
Okay.
Now, you're dealing with a third party. They're going to want to talk to their insured first. They're going to want to do their investigation, so it might take a few days to get traction. You can go through your own insurance company through your collision coverage, and yes, usually you have a deductible, but they'll work with you to recuperate that deductible from that fault party's insurance company.
So it might be quicker to use my own insurance and then let them get the deductible
Usually
back.
it is, because they have a fiduciary duty and a relationship with you.
Right.
So
they're going to work harder for me.
Right.
I
Correct.
pay them every month.
Correct.
They better work hard for me.
Exactly.
Okay, I've run into this battle before. So my car is getting fixed regardless of who's paying for it. What about the rental car?
Now, this is a misnomer in Florida. People think, oh, I'm automatically entitled to a rental car. Actually, what you're entitled to is loss of use reimbursement. So for each day you're without the use of your car, you're entitled to the equivalent of what the use of that car would be. Usually that's the rental value, and usually the insurance company will set up a direct bill to the insurance or to the rental car company so you can rent a car, but it's not necessarily the law. You're not entitled to one. Sometimes the insurance company requires you to pay for it up front and submit a receipt.
Okay, can I ask a sneaky question?
course.
And I hope this doesn't make me a bad person.
No.
So let's say I don't need a rental car, but I got hit.
You're entitled to loss of use for
So
each
I
day
can
without.
claim loss of use from a vehicle,
Absolutely.
and instead of having it sent to the rental car company,
Correct.
maybe it gets sent to me?
That is correct.
Does that make me a bad person?
No, that's the law. It's a loss
Okay.
of use. That's the law. So for each day you're deprived of use of that vehicle for a period of time till it's repaired and get brought back to you, you're entitled to compensation for that.
Okay.
Absolutely. Nothing
All
wrong
right.
with it.
That's a fun little trick. I'm
Yeah.
just saying. I like that one. All right. So let's say the car is totaled, a word we don't like to hear. First of all, what exactly does that mean? And who determines that?
That's determined by the law. If it costs more than 80% of the vehicle's value to repair it, it's considered a total loss. And
Okay.
it's going to be marked on the title as such.
And
So
it's just non-negotiable if that's the case.
It's non-negotiable. Now, what's negotiable is what's the true value of the vehicle and what are the true costs of the repairs if it's close to that 80% threshold. But
Is that
it's
worth
not,
fighting?
It depends, I guess, on the vehicle, on the age of the vehicle, the sentimental value to it. See, the problem is that doesn't go into what the vehicle's worth, what it's worth to you, sentimental value. I mean, I've got an old farm truck that belonged to my late father-in-law. It's got 250,000 miles on it. It's
But it
probably
matters to you.
It matters to me. So if
Right.
it's totaled, if it's wrecked, I would rather keep it if I could, but the law says if it's over 80%, it's considered total. Now I can buy back the value of the vehicle, but it's going to have a basically total mark on the title.
So when something gets totaled, they determine the value just based on the 80% of repairs, and then you are garnered a check?
Correct. Now the insurance company doesn't determine the value out of whole cloth. They usually use a third party to determine the value. You can use Kelley Blue Book and that sort of thing as a general sense, but they use an actual company that takes your vehicle and starts in your zip code and spirals out till they have a good idea of what that vehicle is worth in the market. And
depending on the payment situation of the car, that could either be good news or it can be bad news if you owe more than they give you, if it's paid off, it's...
If you're upside down the vehicle, it's bad news.
Yeah.
You could buy gap insurance when you purchase a vehicle, and that can help.
Right. All right. Lots to consider, unfortunately, with car accidents. We just hope everybody stays safe and stays out of them. But when it happens or when anything happens, for more information about any of your legal questions, go to injuriesarepersonal.com with Carl Reynolds Law. We'll be right back.